Hey everyone, it's Nate here with Element Van Life. I just wanted to do my Tuesday Q&A video. I do these every Tuesday. The way it works, post your questions in the comments section below, and I will answer them in the next Q&A video. The next one, like I said, I'm doing these every Tuesday now, so the next one will be on Tuesday. First question comes from Katie Ray. They say, hey Nate, you're one of my favorite van dwellers on YouTube. Thank you. I've got a question for your next Q&A. Do you tell potential employers you live in your element? And if not, what do you give them for an address? So it kind of depends. I mean, in some situations, for example, this last job that I got with the videography and stuff, I mean, a big part of how I got the job was showing the video editing that I've done in the video that I've created in the YouTube channel. So they found out obviously right away that I lived in the element. In other instances, I might not offer the information right off the bat, and if it comes up, and it is what it is. I'm certainly not going to lie about it, but sometimes I just might not say anything. So in terms of the address, I get an address wherever I go. So when I go out to San Diego, I'm going to rent an address out there. It's not like a P.O. box, it's like an actual address. So it will look like 123 Main Street, number 123, San Diego, California, so on and so forth. So it'll almost look like it's just an apartment. And that's what I use for my address, when I get a job. So I have one of those here in New Orleans, which stays as my permanent address, I guess. And then I have another one in the places that I go if I'm going to try to get a job there. Next question comes from I'm in the Wind. They say, hey Nate, thanks for the inspiration for my element transformation and upcoming trip. You mentioned playing guitars. The guitar a traveling or small guitar, and if so, what kind is it? Thanks again. So it's actually not a travel guitar at all. It's a full-size guitar. It's a Taylor 214 CE. I've had it for a long time. It's definitely a great guitar. I really like it. I've thought about going to like a little Martin or something a little bit smaller, something that's more maybe like a baby Taylor or something that you can travel with a little easier. But at the same time, I mean, it wouldn't save that much space, and I really enjoy having the full-size guitar. Next question comes from Shane the Creator. They say, what was the most exciting thing you did this week? Well, 8 days ago, I know that's not technically this week, but on Monday of last week, I drove to Florida and did a day trip with a couple of my friends and caught some of the best surf I've ever had on the Gulf Coast in Florida. I mean, it was absolutely firing. So that was probably the most exciting thing I've done, at least in the past 8 days. This week, I'm not really sure if there's anything that can come close to that, but I'm going to say that was the most exciting thing I've done in the last few days. Susan Marie, are you headed to San Diego surfing for surfing? Oh, I'm happy to hear you'll be doing videos once a week. Yeah, I'm definitely planning to start creating more videos and stuff once I get back on the road and all that. But yeah, in terms of heading to San Diego, that is where I'm headed for the summer. That's the game plan, and yes, primarily for surfing. Hopefully, I'll be able to work as a surf instructor for at least part-time while I'm there, and also spend some time in the water, get caught up on some much-needed surfing time. Aunt Janima says, hey Nate, how do you receive mail, or do you have a P.O. box? So I just kind of answered that. I get an address. I don't get a P.O. box. It's just like it looks like an actual address, so that you can use that for whatever, job applications or your driver's license or whatever you need to do. Lil Mao says, do you go to McDonald's, Wendy's, or Burger King? If so, which is your favorite? Not typically. I don't go there regularly. I know, like for Christmas, I got a Burger King gift card from someone, and I use that. But it takes forever to use Burger King gift cards because I only spend like $3, and if you get a $15 gift card, that's like 5 visits. So you're just constantly going to Burger King trying to get rid of the thing. But yeah, it's I don't really ever go to Wendy's. I guess on the road I might go to McDonald's. They tend, out of the three, I think they usually have the best Wi-Fi. Burger King kind of requires you to watch like ads and stuff like that for every like 20 or 30 minutes, so that's kind of a pain. So yeah, I'd say probably McDonald's, but if I had to pick like like one of those kind of fast food restaurants, I'd probably say Taco Bell is probably my favorite. Jerry Pitchford says, I love your channel. Thanks. Will you be coming east at all? Yeah, at some point I'm going to head back east, probably in the fall, maybe even towards like the end of next year or next spring at some point. But yeah, right now my sights are set on heading to the West Coast again. Next question comes from Charlie Montero. They say, hello Nate, when are you going to buy a new van? I get claustrophobic just seeing you in this car. At some point I am going to get another van. Probably something bigger, something that I can maybe put a high top on, or I haven't worked everything out yet. I'm not 100% sure on all that just yet, but at some point, probably next year, I'm going to be looking at getting something bigger. Hike and Bike Vlogs says, can you play a song on your guitar for your next Q&A? I also play guitar myself, thanks. I would like to, but I don't think it would work for the Q&A video here just because we have a lot of questions to go over. But at some point, once I get back on the road, I'm going to start playing some more music and incorporating some music that I've recorded into the videos and stuff. I've done that with a couple of videos. If you go back in the past, you'll find them. But, you know, that's definitely something I want to start doing more, and I will start incorporating more of my music and stuff in there. Next question comes from the D. They say, what did you do with your back seats when you did your build? The back seats are in a friend's shed, and they're actually moving out of town in a couple of weeks, so I need to move those to another friend's house or something like that here in New Orleans, but they are just being stored at a friend's house. If I do resell the Element, or I guess I should say when I do resell the Element, I think it'd be nice to offer it with this setup or with the back seats or both, and then the buyer can make that decision on their own, whatever they want to do with it. Noel Vallejo says, great job, and I commend you on your journey. Thank you. With that said, in terms of location, which areas throughout the places you have traveled are the ones you find the most difficult to live the van life? Police presence, places to park for the night, finding seasonal work, etc. So, I mean, I really haven't spent a lot of time in anywhere except New Orleans and California. Everywhere else I've only been in for like a week or so, maybe even less than that. So, you know, the places that I've had the most trouble are definitely in California. I think that's pretty much the only places that I've ever had trouble. I don't even think I've ever received a knock in any other state except for California, and I've had a few knocks, while I was there. So probably California in general. When I was going up the coast and like there was a wealthy town, Carmel by the Sea. I know a lot of you guys know that story where I had issues there, and that wasn't very fun. But I think that most of California, there's just so many people living in vans and in cars and RVs, and the police are not cool with that, and the locals are not cool with that. So there's probably more problems there. It's definitely the most difficult place, but at the same time, it's also one of the most beautiful places, so it's just kind of a trade-off. Swifty with Fragile X, have you ever been to a Cleveland Browns game? I have not. I visited their practice facility in Berea, Ohio. When I visited out there, I was looking at going to school out there, and I ended up having a few days out there to hang out and stuff, but I've never been to a game. Do you think they'll ever win the Super Bowl? Probably not for a while. That's going to be at least 10 years down the road at the least, and I think that's probably pretty optimistic. And would you consider playing for them? As bad as they are, I don't know if I would help them. I think that I would definitely be a detriment to their team. JShim12 says, can you include a list of questions in the description? That is a good idea. That's something that I'm going to look into doing. Just kind of put some of the quick ones that come up often, like particularly the address one. I know that's come up a couple of times already in this video, so that it helps, save some time on the videos, definitely. Shane Burke, hi Nate, are those pool sticks or fishing poles hanging up above your window behind your guitar? So he's talking about these things right here. When my parents came to town a couple of weeks ago, I had them actually bring my golf clubs down. I haven't played in a couple of years, but when I go back out to San Diego, I have a couple of friends that play, and it was only like $20 for them to check the golf clubs and bring them down. So I had them bring them down, and I figured out a way to put my drivers, like the longer clubs, up here, and then the irons can fit in the back really nicely. And I have this foldable, collapsible bag, so I can just kind of store it all away without taking up a ton of space. So it'll be nice to have them. I don't know if I'm going to play too much, but I think it'll be nice to have them to play every once in a while. Penguin Chick, I always think, how does he stay so thin? I was in Louisiana 1 month and gained 30 pounds, but back home I'm back to normal. Do you think it is more what we're used to, or overdoing the newfound foods? I think it's probably overdoing the newfound foods. It's so easy to come here and just eat everything inside, because there's so many great places to eat, and it's not like the options here to eat are like not the healthiest, so I think that's definitely an issue. People come here to visit and stuff, they definitely eat a lot, but I don't really eat too many New Orleans things. For one, it's expensive to eat out at like the really nice restaurants that serve like a lot of good dishes like that, so I tend to only eat out every once in a while, and yeah, just try not to overeat, because it can be really easy to do that here. David Hobbins, hey Nate, what is the song playing at the close of your video? I like to use it as my alarm, just soothing to hit the snooze 9 times. It's from the YouTube audio library. I think it's called Windows Roll Down by the 126ers. It is a nice song. Hey Nate, love your channel. Question, I always overpack for a simple weekend getaway. I was wondering roughly how many articles of clothing and pairs of shoes do you keep on hand for van life? That's a good question. I'm actually going to do a video going into the details, probably at some point later this week, in the next couple of days, just talking about some of the things that I have with me and the things that I'm taking with me on this road trip. But, in terms of how many articles of clothing. I think I probably have about 6 t-shirts. I have 2 pairs of jeans, 2 pairs of shorts, maybe like 4 or 5 pairs of socks. I have 10 pairs of boxers, maybe 9 pairs of boxers. In terms of shoes, I have a pair of sneakers and a pair of flip-flops, which I alternate between. I also keep a pair of dress shoes so that I can wear with my 1 pair of khakis that I have, and a button down just in case I have to go to like a meeting or go to like a nice dinner or something like that. But that's pretty much it. That's just about everything. I have a couple of sweatshirts that I rotate through to stay, that I can layer if it gets cold in the wintertime, but that's pretty much it. Jake Weisenberg says, "Hey Nate, I really enjoy the videos. Do you use all-season radials on your car or something else? Thank you." Jake, also own an Element. Right on. Yeah, in terms of the tires that I have on here, I think they are just all-season tires. They're BF Goodrich tires. I've had them for about 2 years and a lot of miles. We're probably getting on to like 40 or maybe even more than 40,000 miles at this point. So it's getting about that time where in the next few months I'm going to have to replace those. But yeah, they've worked out really well so far. Ryan Fleming, as a high school student, should I start saving up to do this for college? I'm going to get an Element, but I am taller than you, 6'2", just extremely into the minimalist lifestyle and the idea of micro-living. I'm a parkour athlete, so the mobility is super appealing. Right on, yeah, I mean, it really depends on where you're going to be going to school. I think that if you're in like a really cold weather climate, it'd be a little bit more difficult to live out of the Element like this. You might want to have like a more custom Banville that has, insulation and stuff like that, and like a fan system to keep it ventilated and stuff so that you can put a heater on and actually stay warm in the wintertime. But yeah, I mean, it really depends on where you're going and all that. But I think that it's a great way to save money, and it's a great way to save on like room and board and stuff like that, because that can get expensive in college for sure. When I was in college, I was an RA for a while, and that helped save on room and board, which helped tremendously. I know for paying for everything and all that. So definitely it could be a good alternative to paying for room and board and stuff. Moon Marie, I'm surprised to hear it costs $1,500 a month to live in a van since there is no rent, utilities, or buying a house or decor. So you want to know about like hitting costs and just going into the detail about my budget here. So yeah, I can go into it a little bit. I mean, I definitely, that $1,500 I definitely am very liberal with. I try to, I definitely try to over budget, I guess, just because it's better to be over than under. So if I do say only spend $1,200, then I'll have $300 extra dollars which I can put aside and try to save. But I guess the idea, overall, I have it budgeted for $500 right now for eating and for food costs, and that's really high. But at the same time, I'm here in New Orleans. My friends might want to go to dinner or something like that, so that costs money. You go out to dinner, that could cost $20, or maybe even more than that if you get like a beer or something like that. So that can add up. And then I also have just miscellaneous expenses at about $200, and then gas around $100, maybe $150 or so right now. Obviously, the gas is going to increase when I hit the road. I think the eating out is going to decrease though, so it's probably going to even it out there. But I mean, overall, for miscellaneous, eating out, gas, and groceries, we're looking around $800 or $900. So that leaves us with about $600 left, and that money will go towards my student loans, my car insurance, health insurance, and Planet Fitness membership, which is very, very minimal. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I am. $900 to $1,000 for eating out, gas, and just miscellaneous expenses. I just try to be budgeted and try to be ready because things just break. For example, a couple of days, I guess yesterday now, my solar panel just stopped working, and I'm going to have to buy a solar panel before I get back on the road so that I can get that power, and get that off-grid power while I'm driving around or while I'm parked, so that I don't have to run the isolator 24/7 to keep the batteries charged. So things like that, like those little miscellaneous things, they always come up every month. You're going to have to spend $100 or $200 on something random, and it's just kind of just is what it is. But I try to over budget so that I can help be ready for that. Next question comes from John Cook. They say, I would move into a van immediately if it weren't for the fact that my job requires a physical address. I asked friends and family. They said no. Because of the new 911 laws, a driver's license must have a physical address for security clearance on federal facilities such as airports. Any ideas on how to get around this dilemma? My address looks just like a standard address. It's not P.O. Box 123, wherever, New Orleans, Louisiana. It's 123 Main Street, number 123, New Orleans, Louisiana. So it just looks like an apartment. So I can't imagine, unless the DMV is like physically entering in this data and like cross-checking it with like Google or whatever, and then making like phone calls to the facility to confirm. I don't know if they have time to do that, and if they are, then I suppose that is a dilemma. I don't know how to get around it, but I feel like most states don't do that, and that it would work out just to use an address like that. Obviously, you can't use a standard P.O. box, but to have an address that looks just like an apartment but isn't necessarily, might work out. Todd B says, "Hey Nate, been enjoying and following you for a while now. Just starting to plan a future road trip. You mentioned moving to NOLA for school. Where are you from originally?" I am originally from Massachusetts, the south coast of Massachusetts, and Rhode Island, right along that area there. Question: You're an inspiration, bro. Thanks. This comes from FVFGX. They say, "I know you said drive a cooler climate, but when New Orleans muggy and hot, what do you do for bedtime? Do you just suck it up and power through it?" Yeah, here in New Orleans, that's pretty much what I've been doing. Obviously, when I'm in San Diego, it doesn't get that hot. It's not that uncomfortable. Even in the hottest days of summer, it still is like, high 60s, low 70s at night. It's very comfortable. Just pop open the sunroof and put the fan on. But here, it's the same deal. You gotta just gotta power through it, though, because it is a little bit stickier and a little bit muggier. Destination Nowhere. "Hey Nate, always love your Q&A. Thanks. It seems you don't leave anyone out. I don't think anyone else does that. It is appreciated. I know it's crazy early, but to ask, but are you planning to go to Bob's RTR gathering next January?" I am not 100% sure on that yet. I would really like to go and spend some time out there. I don't know if he's going to have, I assume he'll probably have it again. I know that there were some issues with it this past year, though, where it was pretty crazy, but if it does happen again, and if I can make it work, I would really like to go. And the last question this week, guys, comes from PSA727. They say, "Hey Nate, thanks for the great videos. Question: since you have spent time in New Orleans, you're familiar with hot and humid conditions. Do you have any tips or suggestions for someone who will be spending a Florida summer in their SUV?" That is something that would be very difficult for me to do. Even here in New Orleans right now, it's already too hot and it's really uncomfortable. So I can't even imagine what it would be like in Florida in the middle of the summer. I know that here in New Orleans, like for the months during the summer, it could go like a month straight without even ever dipping below 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Like it'll just, even at nighttime, it'll still stay like 78, 79, 80, even in the middle of the night. So I couldn't even imagine what that would be like being in the element. I know that people do that, though. I mean, I guess that your best bet is maybe to, to run your fan, get a fan, or maybe get a couple of fans and have them run and get a nice cross breeze, open up the windows as much as you can. But I can imagine that that'll be pretty difficult to do, definitely. So that sums it up for all the questions this week, guys. The next one will be next Tuesday. On Tuesday, let's see, what's the date on that? May 16th. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll talk to y'all in the next video.